You're listening to No Sucks Saturday on the AM Update.
Yeah, welcome back to another edition of No Sucks Saturday. You might wonder how we actually had kids together if you heard what we were talking about. Well, what I was talking about right before we went on the air this morning.
Yeah.
And you were too, actually.
A little bit.
Yeah, you were too. I was doing my best. Over-the-top DJ impression, and you, needless to say, yeah, you loved it, right?
So much.
Yeah, so much. Loved it so much. Well, it is No Sucks Saturday. That was a fake laugh. No Sucks Saturday. Back again after missing last week. I mean, we've had flu A, B, C, D, E, F, and G, but this is No Sucks Saturday, so we don't talk about the suckitude of the news the news cycle or life. And we try to keep editing to a minimum on this program, which means stuff like that just stays in. I'm Aaron. She's Bella. We'll talk about our weeks here in just a little bit. But first, we have 5 stories that we think objectively don't suck. Bella, did you hear about that earthquake in San Diego or near San Diego this week?
I did.
Yeah, it was a 5.2 magnitude earthquake. The San Diego Zoo Safari Park, a herd of 3 female elephants and their 2 calves were startled by this earthquake, and footage of them organizing to protect their young has made headlines. It's amazing footage. You can see the camera shaking viciously as it has its eyes on the elephants. The big elephants get up right away, and they form a circle around their calves. It's incredible, striking footage, and a reminder of just how amazing God made these animals. This is something, atheists will say, this was just developed over millennia. No, this is how God created these creatures with a high degree of intelligence, and there they are in a circle, a tight circle, protecting their calves. They don't know what's happening. They just know the ground beneath them is moving, and they moved fast to protect their calves. Really cool video out of the San Diego Zoo Safari Park this week amidst that 5.2 magnitude earthquake. Bella, what's your first story?
All right, so my first one actually comes from one of our favorite shows. So we mentioned it before that we love the police procedural show On Patrol Live.
Yep.
So for those of you who don't know, that's where the film, it's on Friday and Saturday nights for 3 hours. A film crew follows around real law enforcement officers.
Yeah, it's like
in
cops.
real time.
Yeah, it's like cops except live.
Exactly. And then in between encounters, the show tosses it back to the studio where Dan Abrams hosts the show and is joined by several former or current law enforcement officers. And so they'll talk about the clips, kind of break down what we're seeing. And
very entertaining, especially during the summer.
Yes. We're starting to get back into On Patrol Live season, and I'm very, very excited about it. But as part of the show, they do several special segments, including one called Missing. And this is where one of the law enforcement officers in studio discusses a missing person's case and asks viewers to call the hotline numbers if they have any information. The show paired up with 2 organizations, National Center for Missing and Exploited Children and the Black and Missing Foundation. And on March 1st, 2nd, and 22nd, On Patrol Live aired missing segments featuring 3 children's cases. And on Sunday, March 30th, all 3 were safely returned to their families with the show's help.
Yeah. And it was directly because of the show.
Correct.
Yep.
So a 16-year-old girl went missing back in November from New York City, and 2 brothers aged 5 and 7 went missing from their home in Louisiana in actually like a day before. And the families reported their kids as missing, and months dragged on with no leads. But per the National Center for Missing Children's Director of Communications, she said, quote, "This is the first time that 2 missing cases, 3 children, featured back-to-back on the same TV show have been found in the same 24-hour period. And to date, 40 people, mostly children, have been recovered after being featured on the show. So kudos to the fans that are not just seeing this, but also taking action.
Yeah, and you can tell as well on social media. This is, so you might have heard of the previous iteration of the show, which was canceled during.
Yes.
Well, it was canceled during 2020. We'll just put it that way.
Yeah, everything that happened then.
That was called Live PD.
Live PD.
It's the exact same format, exact same host. It originally was with the exact same same crew in studio, and sometimes it is the same crew as the one before.
Yeah.
But that was a very popular show. It was on A&E. It had cable carriage across the country.
Yep.
Now, this version, since its inception, has been successful, but it's not to the degree in terms of viewership that the other one was.
Yeah.
That's starting to change now. It's back to where that other was, other iteration was, if you look at social media.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have on X, but every Friday and Saturday night on Patrol Live, or OP Live is trending in the top 10.
Yeah.
So regardless, though, of how widespread and successful the show has become again, it's really freaking impressive that there is a direct link between that show and children being found and found safe,
very,
returned
very cool.
safely. That's cool. Thank you for reminding me of that, because I saw that I think it was last week, and that was really cool. Goosebumps. Also goosebumps. This is Vice President J.D. Vance. Of course, if you're familiar with his story, it's an incredible story of overcoming all the odds stacked against him. Of course, you might recall last summer at the RNC convention, Vice President Vance actually called out his mother and promised her at the RNC convention that if he is elected as vice president, he would be sure to celebrate her 10-year anniversary of being sober at the White House. Well, last week, in a story that I think kind of went under the radar a little bit, and I was going to use it last week as well, but it was under the radar, so I still think it's worthy of being highlighted. J.D. Vance followed through with his promise to his mom.
Our movement is about single moms like mine who struggled with money and addiction but never gave up. And I'm proud to say that tonight my mom is here. 10 years clean and sober. I love you, Mom. And you know, Mom, I was thinking it'll be 10 years officially in January of 2025. And if President Trump's okay with it, let's have the celebration in the White House.
Hey guys, welcome. Well, we are here, of course, to celebrate Mom's 10-year medallion. And I know you're an inspiration to so many. A lot of people in the recovery and addiction community have taken inspiration from your story, and they should. So from the bottom of my heart and speaking for the whole family, we love you. We're proud of you.
I don't know that you know this, but there's thousands of people that look up to you. And I'm one of them.
Your kindness changed my life. The one thing is she's doing this for is her family. I love him. I love him.
We do recover.
Yes, we do. I told JD we didn't have to do this, but he insisted. Like Leslie said, you know, I love my family more than anything. For this drug addict, that's what changed. That's what saved my life. I love you all. Thank you so much for being here. Let's celebrate.
Good job, J.D. Vance, highlighting your mama 10 years sober last week at the White House. Bella, your next story.
I feel really ridiculous about my next story now.
Nice transition.
I mean, I had a couple to choose from, but this one just stuck out because honestly, it made me laugh, and so I chose it. But coming after a really beautiful story about sobriety, this feels ridiculous.
Just go for it. This is not called good transition or good segue Saturday. It's no suck Saturday.
All right, well, here's a happy story then, I guess.
Okay.
So this one comes from...
Oh, man, this is already off.
I didn't do anything yet. No, wait, let me get the first sentence out, then you're really going to roll your eyes. Oh, gosh, this seemed like a great idea last week. All right, so this one comes from Minnesota, where a 2-year-old Maine Coon cat named Mr. Pugsley has received a Guinness World Record for having the longest tail. You know, there's nothing. Oh gosh, we've got a lot of variety on this show. Okay,
We do.
Missing
Good for
children.
Mr. Pugsley, or is it Mrs. Pugsley? Mr. Pugsley.
We've got missing children being recovered, sobriety, and now cat with a long
Pugsley.
cat with a long tail.
Oh, congratulations, Mr. Pugsley.
Yes, his tail measures 18.5 inches, beating the previous record holder by nearly 2 inches. His owner noticed the tail was long, but didn't think much of it until her kids started Googling. And they quickly realized his tail was significantly longer than the record holder, and Guinness World Record confirmed it. And the family says that Pugsley is a sweet, calm cat, though his long tail does often get in the way.
Well, congratulations, Mr. Pugsley, a Maine Coon in Minnesota. Maine Coons are pretty cats.
They are.
Have you ever seen one in person? They're humongous. Well, their fur makes them look humongous.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why this tail looks ridiculous. I mean, he looks like a beaver. It's kind of impressive.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for that story.
I feel really dumb now.
No!
Please redeem this.
No.
Redeem us with a good story that's not about cattails.
Final no sucks story this Saturday. You know the composer Hans Zimmer?
See, I knew you were going to come with something good. Yes.
Hans Zimmer. Some TikTok or social media influencer. I don't really care. I'm not going to give him credit for this.
Wow.
He was able to get an interview with Hans Zimmer.
Oh, wow.
And shot a little video about a minute long asking Hans Zimmer in his office. You can see all of his equipment around him, his keyboard, his instrumentation, and his composition hardware. It's really cool. Asked him to choose between various scores that he has composed. It's really interesting, some of his answers.
Lion King versus Pirates of the Caribbean.
Lion King.
The Lion King or Gladiator?
Lion King is written for my daughter. I didn't really want to do the movie. I didn't really want to do animation. And then the movie really surprised me because it's about the father dying. And my father died when I was 6 years old. And I never dealt with it, and suddenly I had to go and deal with it.
Lion King versus Inception.
Inception.
Inception versus Interstellar.
Interstellar.
Interstellar versus Dune.
Not done with Dune yet.
Interstellar versus Thelma and Louise.
Interstellar. It's one of the few movies where I'm going, actually, I think I did okay.
Interstellar versus Sherlock Holmes.
I think we're going to choose Sherlock. There was just something about it that was really great.
Sherlock versus Kung Fu Panda.
Sherlock,
finally, versus The Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
I think that's a good winner. Lion King.
Imagine being so good at your job as a composer where you hear Inception and you're like, yeah, I think that's one of the only ones that I actually did a pretty good job on.
Yeah.
Isn't that incredible?
Crazy.
But that was really cool. I mean, kind of an inside look at, his talking about the Lion King and not really dealing with his father dying when he was a young boy and just kind of the different standard that he judges his own work by than what we would judge it by is really interesting. I thought that was really cool. I think those were good 5 stories. 4
out of 5.
No, I think we were batting 1,000 there. Or 100. No, it's 1,000.
Yeah.
That's 5 stories that don't suck. We think objectively don't suck. When we come back, we'll continue on with our study of C.S. Lewis's Mere Christianity. That's coming up next.
This is No Sucks Saturday. We'll be right back.
I'm trying here to prevent anyone saying the really foolish thing that people often say about Jesus. I'm ready to accept Jesus as a great moral teacher, but I don't accept his claim to be God. That is the one thing we must not say. A man who was merely a man and said the sort of things Jesus said would not be a great moral teacher. He would either be a lunatic on a level with the man who says he is a poached egg, or else he would be the devil of hell. You must either make your choice. Either this man was and is the Son of God, or he's a madman, or something worse. You can shut him up for a fool, you can spit at him, you can kill him as a demon, or you can fall at his feet and call him Lord and God. But let us not come with any patronizing nonsense about his being a great human teacher. He has not left that open to us. He did not intend to. An excerpt, the final paragraph. Chapter 3, Book 2 of C.S. Lewis's masterpiece, Mere Christianity. The title of this chapter is called The Shocking Alternative. And Bella, we're going to start with me. I was about to say you, but then I forgot.
I could see that.
We decided I would start with the first question. First question is this. The existence of the devil doesn't completely address the fundamental issue. How can a God, or how could a good, all-powerful God, tolerate the existence of evil in his creation? How might the existence of free will be a good place to start in answering this question in paragraphs 2, 3, and 4? Well, the first question there is what I want to focus on. How can a good, all-powerful God tolerate the existence of evil in his creation? The question that I have responding to that is, how can God be good if not for the presence of evil? How are we defining good and evil? How would we define good and evil? This goes back to the main thrust of Book 1 of Mere Christianity. We have this moral law written upon our hearts. All of us have this inclination to say, he ought not do that, or she ought not do this. What informs that? It's not just evolution. We can't attribute it to that. After all, the animals are evolved as well. They don't have any sort of moral code, but yet we do. Where do we get the authority to say that? So how can a good, all-powerful God tolerate the existence of evil in his creation? How could God be good if not for evil? That is the question to that. How would we define what good and evil is? This is something that you can wrap around the neck, metaphorically, rhetorically speaking, of every scoffer who wants to scoff at the notion that God exists, or that the morality of the Christian walk, the Christian life, is just poppycock. It's just made up. It's just religious fundamentalism. By what standard would you say that I should not slit your throat right now? Why would you say that that's wrong? Well, laws say it's wrong. Well, how do you know the law is right? Well, millions of years of human evolution. How do you know millions of years of human evolution? Human evolution doesn't make claims of right or wrong. It just is by your own stated belief system. So that's the fundamental answer to that question. God cannot be good if there's no such thing as bad. And bad, evil, must exist. Otherwise, we would not be able to tell right from wrong, good from bad. That's my answer to that question. Next question is for you. However, even the existence of free will, you can get more into free will, raises questions about God. How can a good God make creatures that are capable of doing wrong?
Well, so for this, I think, and this kind of jumps a little bit off of kind of what you were saying, but also what your question is asking you to answer too, was that God gave humans free will because free will, unfortunately, does make evil possible, but it also makes love, goodness, joy possible. And you can't have one without the other. And you need to have free will in order to have a true, loving, deep relationship. God didn't create us to be robots that just do exactly what we're supposed to do.
How is that glorifying to him?
Right, exactly. That's not the relation. He wants a relationship with us. He doesn't just want order. And so kind of like, what page is it? I think it's page 49, where C.S. Lewis says, we shall see how silly it is to ask, as someone once asked me, why did God make a creature of such rotten stuff that it went wrong? The better stuff a creature is made of, the cleverer and stronger and freer it is, then the better it will be if it goes right, but also the worse it will be if it goes wrong. So that's kind of how you get that duality of, yes, unfortunately, as a result of free will, there is evil in this world, but there's also a enhanced ability for goodness. And the more we're staying in tune with God's word, the more the goodness should be coming through. The other thing that C.S. Lewis points out is that God thought it was worth the risk. And so that's why he gave us free will. We might disagree with him, but what makes disagreeing with him difficult is that he is a source from which our reasoning power comes. So when you argue against him, you're arguing against the very power that makes you even able to argue at all. So if God thinks that this is worth, paying the price for free will, then we should take it that it is worth paying. Yeah.
And it's, as the result of the fall, the curse, we are, what is the knowledge of, the original lie that Lucifer told in the garden is that God doesn't want you to eat this fruit because he knows you will be like him. Yeah. Well, that's a half-truth.
Right.
It wasn't so much that we would be like him in terms of omnipotency.
Right.
We would be like him in terms of knowledge of good and evil. Mm-hmm. Our our innocence disappeared in terms of the human race in that instance. And in terms of the capability for good and ill, all things that are good come from God. It's not really our capability. It's, as you said, when we are drawing closer to our Creator, it's really Him working through us. That is the ultimate source of that good. Great stuff, honey. When we come back, we will have our highlight of the week, as well as our poll. No, not our poll of the week. That's on the
Wrong
AM update. Yes. We'll have our question of the week. That's coming up next. Back for one final segment on No Sucks Saturday. It's time for our highlight of the week. I think we're probably going to have the same one this week, Bella. And that would be this. Our little Abby is 1 year old. And last April kicked off, 4 or 5 months of kind of chaos looking back at it.
Yeah.
It was Abby was born, then broke his leg, got T-boned by a cop.
Yep.
What else happened in there? Something else I'm missing.
I lost my wedding ring. Our dishwasher went out.
That's right. Dishwasher went out. That's right. Lost your wedding ring.
And then found it in the exact same place that I had lost it, even though we'd looked and turned the bowl over several times. Yeah. Last summer was crazy.
Yeah, last summer was crazy. But we are now way past that. And our little Abby is she is an ornery, hilarious, happy, ornery, funny, fun, ornery little 1 year old. And that's my highlight of the week. She turned 1 year old this week.
Yes, she did.
What's your highlight of the week?
That's definitely a highlight. And prior to us all getting sick, we'd actually had a really, really fun couple of days before that, because my birthday is 4 days before Abby's.
And your birthday is a highlight of the week too, yes?
Oh, yeah. A little old me. But we had a lot of fun. We done Abby's birthday party the weekend prior, and then on my birthday we went to Iowa City, where my sister is, and hung out. Yeah. And then we got to go to the Iowa Children's Museum that's in Coralville. That was so fun. Ben absolutely loved it. He did not want to leave. His favorite room was the pretend grocery store. You got to push around a little cart and shop for food. And honestly, it was actually really cool. Like the technology they had. Cool. Like you could actually scan items and it would show up on the screen. And there was a real thing to pay with. It was very cute. Yeah.
Because you never really sure. Because this is like a state of Iowa project. Like it's an state of Iowa sponsored thing. And you're never really quite sure with those government sponsored things, whether or not they're going to be up to date.
You're right. Exactly.
Or not. But it looked, from the pictures you sent, it looked really cool.
It was amazing. It was two stories, and we didn't even make it up to the second level. We were just having so much fun playing in that one. We got to go to the, he also loved the airplane room. That was a big highlight. There was a big slide he got to go down, and I got to do a flight simulator and crashed my plane a couple times. So
there was a flight simulator?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that.
Oh, yeah, there's a flight simulator.
Oh, man.
I know, you could
just drop me off there and take Ben.
Honestly, I thought about it. I walked in this room. No, he didn't have the attention span. He was too busy doing the slide and doing everything else.
That checks out.
Honestly, I think we could probably just leave you in that room all day, because there was that. There's an Iron Man suit to look at.
Cool.
You could fit down the slide. It was technically for children, but I went down anyways.
Nice.
But yeah, so anyways, it was just nice to get to see everyone and kind of celebrate my birthday and celebrate Abby's, and yeah, just a lot of celebrating. And then we got sick, and now we're okay, and we're back outside, and hopefully that's it.
That's it as far as sickness goes. Oh,
I know, I'm so funny.
That's a knee slapper right there.
I'm so funny.
What is our question of the week?
What is something you've done in the past year that has pushed you out of your comfort zone?
Something I've done over the past year that's pushed me out of my comfort zone. Something I've done over the past year.
I'll answer you.
There you go.
I'd say for me, it was quitting my job to stay home because I've always worked, and it was definitely a big transition to being home with the kids all day long. I honestly never really imagined myself staying home. I mean, after having been that desire showed up, but previously I had just kind of assumed I would at least work part-time or do something. And it's definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone because it's just every day is fun, but there's just lots of unexpected things that come up. And unlike a job where you get to clock out and leave, you're kind of on call all the time. So that's definitely been different. But yeah, so I would say that's probably what pushed me out of my comfort zone, just because it was new and different.
Yeah, that's a good answer, because having worked and you're very responsible, and so you going from working and hey, I'm pulling my share to feeling like you're not, even though you're working even harder now. Yeah. That's got to be difficult.
Yeah. I
think, you know what? We're going to go with this. The second day in a row, I've invoked this. But the AM update special that I did.
Yeah.
That was definitely outside of my comfort zone. Mixed bag, mixed results. But it was really fun to explore kind of doing just something different on here. Mm-hmm. And, I think with even some more refinement, there's some opportunities to do even more with special editions. So that's kind of my answer. I know that's kind of recency bias, but that's what I would say. Oh. Good stuff as always, honey. Appreciate you. It is when we're taping this, it's getting pretty late.
It is. We're getting real close to my bedtime.
Sun's going down. It's already down.
Yeah, it's been down.
We'll be back at it again on Monday for everyone for regular order AM update. Hope you have a wonderful Saturday, wonderful weekend. He is risen. Happy Easter. Happy Resurrection Day. Whatever floats your boat. We'll be back at it again on Monday.
Thanks for listening to No Sucks Saturday.